Hello, welcome back to the second SEM Generic English course. I am Dr. Vidya Patil, serving as Associate Professor of English at Government First Grade College for Women, Bidar. I will be guiding and assisting you during this course. In the previous video, we have learnt about Henrik Ibsen, who was one of the most prolific playwrights and someone who managed to change social culture. In today's video, we will be trying to read and understand more about his most famous play, The Doll's House, and especially about the character of Nora and her monologue. Ibsen's famous play, A Doll's House, is a masterpiece of theatrical craft. In this play, for the first time, the hypocrisy of Victorian middle-class marriage was portrayed on the stage. It is a story of a marriage that superficially seems happy, but a critical turn of events reveals a sham relationship. The play mainly revolves around the theme of a woman's place in society as opposed to the woman's right of independence and individuality. The play ushered in a new social era and exploded like a bomb into contemporary life. It is a three-act play written by Henrik Ibsen. It was premiered at the Royal Theatre in Copenhagen, Denmark on 21st December 1879, having been published in the same month. The play is set in a Norwegian town circa 1879. The play is significant for the way it deals with the fate of a married woman who at that time in Norway lacked reasonable opportunities for self-fulfillment in a male-dominated world. That is, in this play, we find the depiction of a married woman who had very few opportunities to create an identity for herself in a male-dominated society. The Doll's House is widely considered to be a landmark in the development of a new genre in theatre, that was realism. Here, the artist strives to portray life accurately and shuns all idealized visions of life. Ibsen employs the themes and structures of a classical tragedy in his play A Doll's House. He writes in prose about common, everyday, unexceptional people. The Doll's House also displays Ibsen's concern for women's rights and for human rights in general. It is a very thought-provoking play which is still relevant even after 137 years after which it was written. In 2006, which was the centennial of Ibsen's death, A Doll's House held the distinction of being the world's most performed play in that year. UNESCO has inscribed Ibsen's autographed manuscripts of A Doll's House on the memory of the World Register in 2001 in recognition of the historical value of this play. The title of the play is most commonly translated as A Doll's House, though some scholars use A Doll House. Let us now try to understand the main plot of this play. Torvald and Nora Helmer, who have had some financial struggles, are delighted because Torvald has gotten major promotion at the bank where he works. Nora, behind her light-heartedness and childish behavior, which has always been encouraged by Torvald, calls her diminutive and sometimes vaguely and sometimes explicitly. He continues to insult her by calling her names like my sweet tooth and little spendthrift. She has been hiding a major secret from her husband. She had borrowed a substantial sum of money a few years ago to finance a trip to Italy in order to help Torvald to recover from a major illness. She tells Torvald the money was lent to her by her father, but it was actually loaned to her by one person named Niels Krogstad, and she had been slowly paying the amount back. But now Niels was threatening to tell Nora's husband, especially since he had realized that Nora had forged her father's signature as a co-signer in the note. As the problem of this forged promissory note loomed closer to disclosure, Nora became more and more frantic. She still thought that Torvald, who had shown nothing but disdain for her mind and financial ability, would eventually stand by her and protect her if her misdeed, which was done because of her love and concern for her husband, becomes public. Torvald reads Krogstad's letter and is quite outraged over his wife's forgery. He abuses Nora. Just then the maid comes with another letter of Krogstad. Torvald reads the letter and is overjoyed to learn that Krogstad has had a change of heart and has returned the bond. He at once forgives his wife. However, Nora realizes that her husband never loved her and she was just a doll whom he played with. She decides to end up living in Torvald's house, and in spite of his pleas, she goes out slamming the door behind her. Let us now try to understand how Ibsen used doll as a metaphor. Throughout this monologue, Nora compares herself to a doll. Like how a little girl plays with lifeless dolls that move in whichever way the girl wishes, Nora likens herself to a doll in the hands of the men in her life. Referring to her father, Nora recalls, "He called me his doll child and he played with me just as I used to play with my dolls." In using the doll as a metaphor, she realizes her role as a woman in a man's society is ornamental, something cute to look at like a doll child. Further, a doll is meant to be used by the user. Thus, this comparison also refers to how women are expected to be molded by the men in their lives in terms of tastes, interests, and what they do with their lives. So, here Ibsen tries to show how women are not allowed to have their own, develop their own taste or follow their own interests. They have to mold and accept the interests and tastes of the men in their life. This is one of the earliest feminist works of literature, which was written in 1879. It is very hard to believe that this hard-hitting play about a woman who realizes that she has been treated as a mindless doll all her life, both by her father and then her husband, and suddenly takes a decision to do something about it, was written over 130 years ago. This play raises certain important questions about true communication and about finding yourself, not just for women but for all mankind. This play has been one of the most played dramas throughout the world and culminates in the character of Nora leaving her husband Torvald and her three children. This was unheard of in 1879 when it was first performed, and still is considered to be one of the most famous gender political movements in world literature. The role of Nora even holds an iconic status. UNESCO's Memory of the World Register calls Nora a symbol throughout the world for women fighting for liberation and equality. A Doll's House questions the traditional roles of men and women in 19th century marriage. To many 19th century Europeans, this was scandalous. The covenant of marriage was considered holy, and to portray it as Ibsen did was supposed to be controversial. Ibsen was inspired by the belief that a woman cannot be herself in modern society, since it is an exclusively male society with laws which are made by men and with prosecutors and judges who assess feminine conduct from a masculine standpoint. Nora's decision to leave her home and her act of slamming the door as she leaves has become a theatrical convention, and um, has become a scene which has come to represent the play by itself. In today's video, we have read and understood about the play A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. This play is considered to be one of the pioneer plays in the field of feminist literature. The character of Nora has gone on to become a symbol for all those women who are trying to fight for their identity. So, I am sure you have now understood that this play is one of the most important plays and has played a major role in transforming our social culture. In the next video, we will try to read and understand Nora's monologue and what are her feelings and thoughts about the position of women in a society which is controlled by men. I hope you liked this video. Thank you.